here we are at the next step. This one is the conrods joining to the pistons. It's pretty important how these ones go. It's not like your standard old 308 engine or anything like that. It's pretty important how they go. So these ones were labelled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they've done the right thing in regards to numbering them for me. The pistons have to go a certain way. So you've got a variation in the valve clearance on those ones. And then you've got this little notch here compared to the other side, so that's nothing. And also you have to match up your bearing caps with your conrods, so they have to be the same. So if they don't match up due to how they are manufactured, then you're going to have dramas. So the small end bearings, they've been replaced and machined to suit. What I'm going to do now, I'm still waiting on more bolts. I'm still waiting on 12 more bolts for the big ends. So I'm going to put the pistons on all the conrods, and they have to be in a very specific order. It's pretty important. So what you've got on these pistons is you've got an R and then you've got an arrow. The 1.00 stands for 1 mil oversize. The left pistons have an L on them, and then you've got an arrow facing forwards. So it's all very particular how to set this up. I'm going to put them together one by one and try and show you how that's done. I've got the cylinder block behind me, so I'll run, each time I do one, I'll run that with you. So the first one, now according to this wording, number 2, the front sides of the conrods, it is designated by the central raised tang forged into the center of the front face of the conrod caps. So to me it's saying the front side, so that tang has to go to the front. So they contradict themselves in this diagram here. So right hand front protrusion, so the protrusion goes to the front. So the right hand is going to be number 1, so that's number 1. So that has to go protrusion to the front. That's what they're saying. If you were going to go number 2 and you put that protrusion to the front, that's going to marry up with number 1, like that. But in the diagram it states protrusion to the rear, so it's actually a little bit contradictory. It makes, I'm going to run with the diagram because that makes more sense. You want the protrusion to the rear, so the protrusion on number 1 goes that way, the protrusion on number 2 goes backwards. So you run So you're running like that. So you've got the smooth edges button up against each other. So the diagram is possibly more accurate than the actual wording in point 2. Now if I had done this myself, I would have already had it marked out which way they go and all the numbers, which they've done. They've numbered them. They just didn't point out the fact that which one went which way, and according to that document it's pretty important. So the last one I did, the last build I did on these, I didn't have to worry about thinking about this sort of stuff because I already marked it to suit. And as I've said previously, someone else did this, so they haven't marked it to suit, and now I have to try and put it together the proper way. So I'm working on it. So what we're going to do is number 1, so the protrusion goes to the front on number 1, which will be the right hand side if you're standing, if you're in the driver's seat. Number 1, the protrusion goes to the front, which is on the right hand side. So number 1 piston is a right hand, it says there, and that has to go to the front. So what we're going to do is put the pin in like that. So that'll be number 1. Arrow to the front. So these two here, the ones that are distant more apart, have to go towards the valley itself. These two here, obviously they have to go to the exhaust side. So intake, exhaust, front of engine, rear of engine. This is the right hand side, which is number 1. So the right hand side, you go 1, 3, 5, 7, and the other side, passenger side in Australia, is 2, 4, 6, 8. Piston to conrod achieved. Next step, let's put the rings on. You've got your expander ring, you got a gap there for the ring itself. That's an oil ring, and then you've got the expander ring. So you want the expander ring, that gap there, you want where the R is on the right hand side. So you want it directly backwards. The actual oil ring itself, you want to have the gap between this one. Number 2, compression ring. It's skinnier than the number 1. So we want to align the gap with this one here. Number 1. We want to align up here, the gap here. So conrod bearings, initial torque 35 Newton meters. and then plus 90. So that's the first piston in. Got my plastic gauge. I tension that down. Maximum oil clearance for your conrod is 0.052 millimeters. This one looks like it's about 0.05. So we're pretty close there. Look at those happy little pistons sitting in there. Oh. WD-40, and they're happy. Bit hard to turn over when there's 8 pistons in there rather than just 2.